Welcome once again to the Deleted Reason Diversion, coming to you from the ninth circle of hell. And it is April 28th, 2019, and hope everybody's got their taxes done. I don't. I will do that.
I do.
Toot sweet. Easter's come and gone. That's why we didn't have an episode last Sunday. People were busy and on the long weekend. And hello, Kat. Come here, girl. No, but Black Cat is just crossing my path here. Okay, goodbye. What do we got to? And on Islam. Of course, there was the Islamist attacks in Sri Lanka, suicide bombings, 291 people killed. It's the religion of peace. Linda Cockroach Sarsour was invited to speak in Winnipeg. The mayor of Winnipeg, Brian Bowman, tried to get her disinvited. Let me check to see if this is actually... Oh, good. People can hear us. I think... Yeah, people can hear us. Okay, good. I'm just checking the levels there, and it's fine. So Linda Sarsour came to Canada. I wish she would just go away, but... The Sadistic Sultan of Brunei defends signing the death penalty by stoning for homosexuality and adultery into law against its European critics. And he basically wrote a letter showing that he really didn't understand what it was that was wrong about this whole thing. I'll get to that in a bit. I'm not going to. I'd have to do it in a funny voice anyway. So, despite this, writing in The Guardian, Owen Jones, he makes a plea to the Muslim community to band together with the LGBTQ community to fight the far right that threatens both groups. I don't think he understands Islam, mainstream Islam. What is else? We got the Regressive Left Files, an American college where students engage in discourse with someone they disagree with. That's heresy. So after Middlebury College canceled an event for a speaker was there to speak based on security reasons, which is the go-to these days for disrupting free speech and disinviting speakers. One class in political science decided to invite him and actually engage him. I mean, how dare they, right? That's just terrible. Saratoga Springs High School. They took one of these stupid BuzzFeed type privilege calculators, as if anybody's life and can be distilled down to a single number. Parents were a little upset about that. I would have been too, because it's a load of BS. But anyway, victimhood culture poisons everything, just like religion, which it is actually. Godless religion. That was also it's a late edition. There was a speaker at St. Olaf's College, a social worker / sex therapist, who was railing against fat phobia. You just have to see her. It's definitely interesting. I mean, it'll drop you a few IQ points, but it's well worth it in the end. And the Pope denounces the glitter of wealth in front of a giant gold gilded candlestick that is cartoon-sized in opulent St. Peter's Basilica, which is designed specifically to project the church's power and wealth, and that God favors them kind of thing. no one's never ever accused the Vatican of having a good sense of self-awareness. But meanwhile, good news, well, sort of. Non-Roman Catholic churches are on the rise in the U.S., and, I don't know. Why would that be? Let me count the ways. And a politician actually demonstrates that he can separate his personal beliefs from politics. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy signed a bill into law allowing medical assistance in dying there, and this was despite not only his own personal Catholic beliefs, but the protestations of the local bishop. A Philadelphia court has ruled against the archdiocese there. They took the city to court over its refusal to renew a contract to place children in foster care. Why? Well, the Catholic Social Services, as it's called, refused even in principle placing foster children with same-sex couples or unmarried couples. Why is there even a Catholic Social Services? I don't know. America. But first,
we have them here in Red Deer.
The Catholic Services, Social Services.
Catholic, yeah, we have some in here, Red Deer.
Which shouldn't surprise anybody because of there's Catholic hospitals here, which shouldn't be around either. But I'm getting some feedback somewhere. Yeah, I am getting some feedback. Somebody doesn't have you got your headphones on, I can see that.
Yep, testing.
Anyway, yeah, so we had the election here, and well, there's been a change in power. There's a majority conservative, ultra-conservative party government, and yeah, as I've been critical of the NDP government here, but yeah, I'm going to be really critical of the provincial government because, well, I don't expect anything good to come out of that. So,
and we've already seen signs of really, really bad.
Yeah, I know. I expect there to be a hiring freeze in the Alberta Health Services. So no.
Yeah, and they're stopping the big lab, and they're putting a stop on the cancer center that is nearly done. And Kenny's gone to war against environmentalists.
Yeah, you're going to talk about that because I don't have the.
They're using conspiracy theory to do it too. It's just great.
All right, go ahead. Twy.
Oh, I'm starting?
Yeah, you're starting. We're going to start on this because I know it's just bringing up the election here.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, but you need to have headphones on.
Okay. Yeah, what? I'm on my netbook and it's one or the other. So I'm going to sign off and apologize. I am at an undisclosed location that is not Calgary. And so have a good one, and I'm sorry.
All right. Cameo approach, everyone. There we go.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah, next time.
Bye-bye. Sorry. Thanks, bye.
All right. So it's just going to be me and Twyla. Okay.
Okay. I'll try to be quick about this and paraphrase a little because
there's so much to talk about tonight.
This came to my attention when there was an article in the Calgary Herald about a so-called researcher, and I looked at her background. I'm sorry, I don't have that article with me right now. She was a nutritionist, not even a registered dietitian, and now she's a researcher, and she was accusing American big rich families of giving environmentalists here money to stop pipelines so that American pipelines could flourish, I guess. And she supposedly had some facts and figures from donations, but let's just say it wasn't entirely verifiable. So, of course, I wanted to bring this up, and fortunately for me, Sandy Garasino of National Observer wrote an article pretty much addressing every point I wanted to touch. It's called Jason Kennedy's Shrewd Canard, and of course, it is shrewd because unless you can smell bullshit a mile away, like some people, but not others, most people, you're going to fall for this. Jason Kenney, in one fell swoop, did paint environmentalists as the enemy of the people, and Notley as their hapless dupe, along with Trudeau, of course. That's how Kenney got elected. He failed to mention the Indigenous opponents of pipelines, whose court challenges pose the greatest obstacle to pipeline expansion. That's the truth of it, but Kenney doesn't care about the truth.
Yeah, he blamed her for something she couldn't control.
And now he's blaming David Suzuki. I'm not a huge fan of Suzuki, but I'm sorry. He's not the one standing in the way of the pipelines. As this reporter pointed out, it's court challenges by not environmentalists. So, in threatening a public inquiry into foreign funding of environmentalists, Kenney didn't just respond to regional pressures. He hewed much too closely to a global movement by authoritarian governments to delegitimize, limit, and ban NGO access to the international philanthropic funding and journalists. Alberta's saber-rattling against environmental activists placed it squarely in the company of Egypt, India, Pakistan, Russia, Ethiopia, and Hungary, which have all enacted measures to restrain or prevent local nonprofit organizations from gaining access to the largest nonprofit granting bodies. Don't like activists exposing human rights abuses, promoting girls' education, gay rights, access to birth control or labor, and Indigenous rights in your country? Is NGO pressure where pollution, water contamination, or climate issues discouraging investors and your party donors? Accuse them of plotting secretly against the people and cut their money off. Even the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's contraception initiative has been targeted as a secret eugenics operation in Africa with not so quiet support by the American Christian Right and even Alex Jones. Kenney's war on environmentalist funding is just... he's
That's
still
funny.
out there where
As
he
if
can be.
Alex Jones is somehow some reasonable voice out there. Yeah, no, yeah.
Well, none of these are. I mean, she jumped him. She put him in the group he belongs in. Notice how little of this debate is actually about climate, GHG emissions, the Paris Agreement, and meeting national commitments. All concerns that should be the highest national priority. Climate change is happening. So, instead, the message is to distrust and suspect the motives of some of the world's most eminent scientific and humanitarian foundations, as if there's something deceitful and dishonest about helping community and citizen groups with no other way to be heard. I'll get to the end here simply to get this going, but...
Yeah, this is just going to be a long 4 years.
Well, as she pointed out, instead of addressing the issue of the court challenges that are not Notley's fault and are not Trudeau's fault.
Well, that's not completely true, because there was a lot of incompetence by not doing proper environmental reviews, and that's on him. There
were quite a few, though. But instead of, looking at that issue, which even you know more about, apparently, than Kenney is pretending to, he is going to go to war on environmentalists, distract, and there is a speaker out there that he just legitimized, even though she's part of the conspiracy theory that even Alex Jones embraces. So Kenney is using...
That's all
and the Christian far right and everybody else. So there we go, Alberta. We're going to war against environmentalists. We're going to ignore the real issues with the pipelines, and if it doesn't get built, it's going to be Suzuki's fault. Yay!
Yeah, well, it's this thing, right? He's got the convenient scapegoats.
Yeah.
Suzuki is really not very... He's more influential than he should be, but he's not very influential, really.
And he's not standing in the way of the pipeline. Neither is Greenpeace, and neither is anyone else.
No.
And Kenny doesn't care. He's deflecting attention.
Exactly.
So, and
he's got his boogie men, and he can just pass the buck off onto them, like he did to Rachel Notley. And
I'm sorry, but this is not going to get a pipeline built.
Yeah, it has absolutely nothing to do with Alberta.
It's of course, it's not going to be his fault now. It's Suzuki's fault, and Greenpeace and any other environmentalist group out there that are apparently bought off by the Rockefellers.
I think you mean the Cokes.
But I think he actually, this researcher, I'll have to find that article. I'm sorry I didn't have it in time for this. She mentioned quite a few groups, not just the Koches, but any Jewish rich family she kind of pegged. So.
Jewish rich family, okay.
And a few others. I mean, a conspiracy can't just be one family. It's got to be a whole lot of them, right?
Yeah, it's gonna, like, yeah, I had, some criticisms of the Notley government. Pipelines wasn't one of them. But the thing is, I don't expect this current government to be any better. In fact,
no, of course not. They're going to be much, much worse. In fact, yes, the hiring freezes. He's stopping these projects. They will mean the end of jobs. It'll mean increased privatization, which we have found in many cases does not help. It will cost us more money because they're for profit. There'll be less oversight.
And he's, as one of his campaign promises, he was looking to find out about where money was going in the health sector, and it's going to be healthcare is expensive,
and they were spending more as conservatives way before the Notley government came anywhere near it. Notley actually, from education to healthcare, actually lowered manager payments like vice presidents and presidents. Our president of Red Deer College took a pay cut. So, I don't know, this is just a bunch of other conservative bullshit about all this money disappearing.
Yeah, well, it's going to affect everyone that accesses healthcare in this province, and I suspect that we're going to see some reversals of certain treatments or drugs. Plan B, the Plan B option that was made available by the Notley government is going. Probably, I wouldn't be surprised if that was reneged or rescinded.
Well, and they're already talking about, the Notley government passed a law, I guess you would say, that the protesters couldn't be within X amount of distance from the abortion clinics. That they're talking about getting rid of that one right away. So. Thank you to all the rednecks who hired this person to run the province. You think he's going to make it better? Oh, buckle up. It's going to be a really bad ride.
He's going to make it the way they want it. They don't care if it's better or worse.
They don't care if they're going to suffer along with the rest of us.
Well, they don't think they will. There's a lot of libertarianism in this province, and
racism.
And racism. It's pretty good in Calgary and Edmonton, but step outside and you're in a very
the yellow vests are out every weekend.
I guess they don't have a job. Any other job, I should say.
Well, it's just Saturday, so they could very well be working. Especially those girls that were going around with their signs not too long ago, not this weekend, but a couple of weekends ago. It's not bad to be proud of your being white or some crap. Again, I'd have to bring up the actual sign.
Would anybody be proud of being something that they were born as? I mean, it's just...
But they're being told they can't be proud of being white. So then they're just, they're getting picked on. Just as badly as...
I just don't understand what is so prideful about being white. I mean,
they're racist. They're out and proud, but then they get called out for it and they get mad.
Yeah, Yeah, help.
And they're like, well,
being
we
repressed.
We can be proud of being white too, just like, you know.
It's being proud of something is something that you've accomplished. How do you accomplish being white? It's just a skin
Yeah.
color. You were born that way.
These people don't do logic, they do hate.
Yeah.
So buckle up, folks. It's
Like
not
there's
going to get
something
any
that comes
better.
along with the lack of melanin. I mean, we're not really white. We're pink. Let's face it, right?
I don't know. I'm pretty
I'm-
freaking white.
Yeah, granted, you've got whiter skin. Me, I'm just pure pink.
I'm practically albino. I color in my eyebrows and put on mascara. Otherwise, you just look
you
up
cheat.
albino, and that's what I would look at. Whoa.
You can do that.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see me. You'd be like, there's this white thing chatting, but.
You got Icelandic blood or something, or what?
And Ukrainian, Polish.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Aryan?
Unfortunately. I have one grandma that is 100% Welsh, and then a bunch of American stuff. I got one grandparent that came from the States. Knows what he was.
Wow.
But then 100% Polish grandma and 100% Ukrainian grandpa. So.
Just don't get enough sun, that's all.
You don't want to see that.
What?
I turn red as a lobster. I peel and then get right back to this color.
Oh, okay. I actually, when I burn, I tan, so it's...
Not me.
I used to do that, turn myself into a lobster, because I knew that a couple days down the road I was going to have a nice deep tan. But
I turn into
No
a
moles.
scaly creature.
oh, yeah. I
Peeling
have
skin.
absolutely
It's
not a single mole on my body. I have just about zero chance of melanoma.
skin. Yeah. No, I have lots of moles.
My wife didn't believe me, and then she started looking, and she realized he's right. There's no moles.
I wasn't making this up.
No, I wasn't. But when I was before I met Rhonda, I had a neighbor across the hall who was just melanoma city, and she was covered with black moles all over, and she would go out sunbathing every day.
Oh,
and
God.
Oh, jeez.
No. I'm freckled like
This
crazy.
is the same person that she went out rollerblading one day, and I told her, she never wore wrist guards or anything. She just went out, and then one day she fell, and as she was falling, what's Randy gonna say? So she pulled her hands back and landed on her face.
Let's not break the wrist. Let's break the face.
When she told me that, I just said, I don't feel the least bit sorry. That was really dumb.
Did she break anything or just had a scrape?
No, she just had, her face was like a pumpkin, size of a pumpkin. I just didn't feel least bit sorry.
It's lucky she didn't break her nose.
No kidding. Who does that? All right, so moving on. Oh yeah, here we go. I'm gonna pull up the bumper. See how fast this is now. See it? How fast?
The Legion of Reasons Catholic Watch.
That's interesting. Oh, I thought I'd set that on OBS, but it's coming out in XSplit. That doesn't matter. Yeah, that's a lot faster now. And oh yeah, Catholic Watch. Yes. Catholic governor signs assisted suicide law after careful prayer. So he talked to
Good
himself.
news.
He actually, I'm glad talking to yourself helped get to the right answer. And this
He must have
What's that?
He must have empathy somewhere in there somehow. Yeah.
Well, an understanding that his personal beliefs are not everyone's.
We need more like him.
He signed. Yeah, it is possible. I mean, to act on behalf of everyone, representing everyone, and recognizing that your own personal beliefs are your own personal beliefs. They don't.
And you don't have to get it yourself if you don't want it.
Yeah. So he signed a medical aid in dying bill on April 12th, despite one New Jersey bishop who is continuing to oppose the dangerous law. Oh, let's do that again. dangerous law. All right. The new law will allow those deemed by a doctor to have less than 6 months to live to request lethal medication to end their lives, but they actually have to administer the medication themselves. I don't know how this is going to work for certain people that are incapable of doing that. The article doesn't say. And he said, after careful consideration, internal reflection, and prayer, I have concluded that while my faith may lead me to a particular decision for myself, as a public official, I cannot deny this alternative to those who may reach a different conclusion. I believe this choice is a personal one, and therefore signing this legislation is the decision that best respects the freedom and humanity of all New Jersey residents. Well spoken. It kind of helps all to have like 80% of the population behind you, but okay, whatever. Bishop James F. Cecchio of Metuchen, that must be someplace in New Jersey, condemned the governor's decision. In a statement to the Catholic news agency, Cecchio called the legislation the latest in a dangerous and frightening trend and a brazen attack against the sanctity of human life.
Because people never die.
And what else did he say? Oh, yeah, I got to do this. While we are facing dark times, we will not stop from advocating for the sanctity of human life in all stages. He brings abortion into this. What a jerk. And we will continue to educate our legislatures, our fellow Catholics, and the general public about the dangers of legalized physician-assisted suicide.
I haven't heard one frickin' danger that's actually even true.
What an asshole. Yeah, well, we're going to get to one of their poster child views of things, which is completely wrong. And he also said, Easter Sunday comes after the darkness of Good Friday, we know, so we will continue to work for Easter light to pervade our society. It already has, asshole. There we go. So, good news. Good news. Another state signs it into law. More from the Catholic News Agency, a great source. They're actually a pretty good news service. But
yeah, they would like us to donate.
Yeah, of course they would. Now, there was some conference, and this speaker was saying that ending isolation is key to fighting assisted suicide. Really?
These people aren't isolated, so you're creating a problem that doesn't exist.
Well, I can tell you not my own personal experience, because I'm still alive and I haven't tried assisted suicide, but my stepfather was receiving the best of palliative care, and there is no one who knew him who would say that he was a weak-willed person who was really lonely and etc.
Isolated.
No. If this had been available for him, this was before Carter v. Canada decision, he would have taken it, and not one of us doubts that. And to say that all these people that make this decision are doing because they're isolated and that is such a cliche. It's not even a true cliche. It's
a lie.
It's a false cliche. This is Chris Faddis, co-founder of Solidarity Health Share. I was going to say Health Scare. Spoke to CNA about
scaremongering moron.
Yeah, exactly. Importance of respecting the dignity of all patients at the end of life, just not their decision. We're not going to respect.
Well, it's more dignified to die as you choose, which now I want a big party like the one guy.
Like that one guy.
Then dying by nothing by mouth. Dying by starvation and dehydration.
Oh, that's a terrible way to go. That's exactly how my stepfather went. And,
that's how my grandma went, and I really don't appreciate that was her only damn choice.
Yeah. He says, I got to do it. When you see no way out, something like a pill seems tempting. Yeah, right. God damn it, these people. They don't have a clue.
You can't help but see no way out when you're in excruciating pain and actually dying and know it.
And if you think, if you don't think that Catholic healthcare is a barrier to, I mean, supposedly Covenant Health has changed, and they allow assessments on site now, whatever. If you think they're not a barrier to accessing medical assistance dying, just listen to this. We're just here or there to facilitate and to kind of direct them. What does that sound like? That sounds like they're trying to talk you out of it. Okay, they don't have a right to do that. It's just.
And this one really, I'm sorry, this is the one that pisses me off. When people are cared for well, then they can suffer well. What the fuck is suffer well, you...
This is the redemptive suffering thing that really pissed me off too. And redemptive suffering is a sick doctrine. How dare you foist that on other people?
Torture. You're supposed to die in torturous pain. So, he says, as they're going through those difficult times, or just those difficult decisions, people can help them just by caring well for them, because that's all they need, until they suffer to death. What do you say about Jesus here? Ugh.
The dignity of human life. They're respecting the dignity of human life, but they're not respecting the patient's wishes. That's the problem. You're going to suffer because I think you should. And I think if we do that well... Oh, no, I've got to do this again. And I think if we do that well, we've solved the problem. I mean, if you're dying alone, you want the pill.
These people aren't alone, you fat liar.
And even if they are, so what? It's not like you go, you want the pill that'll kill you? Okay, I'll just go grab it. It doesn't work like that. People are assessed by two physicians, and independent. One of them has to be independent. So it's not like it's a whim or I feel lonely today, I think I'm just going to off myself. No, you think a doctor's not going to know that it's being done for the wrong reasons? Jeez.
Well, you can't trust a doctor with Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I certainly don't trust a Catholic doctor.
Yeah.
Political. Yeah, this is Pope during Easter Vigil. I love the picture. Look at those candelabras. How big are those candelabras? And they're
gold and sparkly and glittering.
They're like, you put this on these things on your dinner table and it would collapse. And
the glitter
opulence.
would blind you.
Sins.
What does he say?
The right way. I gotta do this the right way. Sin seduces. It promises things easy and quick, prosperity and success, but leaves behind only solitude and death. Sin is looking for life among the dead, for the meaning of life in things that pass away. Why not prefer Jesus, the true light, to the glitter of wealth, career, pride, and pleasure?
Hypocrite.
Jeez.
You know what? These jerks are more obsessed with solidarity, being alone, than being in pain. So they always have to have Jesus with them, I guess. Yeah, I mean, seriously, you can't be alone for a second?
Now, try new Jesus. It's just a sales pitch. I really don't care for your Jesus, and I don't care for you, Popey boy. All right. And a lot of Catholics are getting fed up with it, but they still want to be Catholic, and so they go to independent Catholic churches. And apparently, in the Philadelphia area, 4 of these have popped up. I'm not particularly happy that they didn't just go straight to atheism, but maybe this is a gateway to that. Who knows? They can't expect people to just boom become atheists. That's not the way it works. But what they were saying about the Vatican, they don't admit they're on fire until it's too late, and the whole church is burning. Yeah, and that's actually quite true. I mean, Pope John Paul II, he thought it was just an American problem, as if that's somehow better. Okay, I don't get that.
American.
And it wasn't a worldwide thing. Well, yeah, but it's bad enough to do something about, right? If it was just an American problem, it's not. It's a worldwide one. It's happening everywhere, and places that, like, very Catholic, like Chile. I'm expecting El Salvador, places like that to those allegations of abuse are, haven't heard of any from there, but I do expect it at some point. If ex-Catholic was a religion, it'd be the third largest in the United States. Because, a lot of people just say they're Catholic, right? That's true. I mean, especially in Quebec. How many people actually go regularly to Mass, right? It's not very many.
But you're better if you're Catholic than if you're not.
These guys are still going to hell according to the Vatican, right? Because they're heretics and...
But still better than being non-religious, because those people are horrible.
Totally. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So it's something, I'd prefer they just went straight to atheism, but if this is the way they get to atheism, that's fine too. Back still in Philadelphia. Court rules against Catholic foster agency. It's Catholic social services, which is a thing, which it shouldn't be, but oh well.
Well, it's in Canada too.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't receive public funds. These guys get public funds because they're on contract with the city to place foster children or children in foster care.
And they get public funds here too. It was the only agency I could go to get help with my son getting some respite care. They were the only agency I could go to.
Wow. So because the city had passed a law that anything that was, doing business with the city of Philadelphia, they would have to abide by the modern non-12th century things like allowing unwed couples to adopt, or same-sex couples to adopt. And of course, that's the last thing Catholic Social Services wants. Well, too bad. So they canceled the contract. CSS took them to court, and they got their ass handed to them on a platter, which is good. I love this. He says this. The need to find those children's homes is so dire that earlier this year the city put out an urgent call for 300 new families to become foster parents. Well, if they're so desperate, then why wouldn't you allow same-sex couples or unwed couples to adopt? If you're so concerned, about getting children into foster care, come into the, at least the 18th century, if not the 21st. And they continue. But shortly after this call for help, the city inexplicably... it wasn't inexplicably. They have a freaking law that required them to buy anything getting money from the was the voice changer working or no?
I didn't hear it on my end, so I was wondering if it was
I was pushing the wrong button, damn it. Okay, it'll work
I was hoping it was going through another way.
All right. Okay, here we go.
But shortly after this call for help, the city inexplicably prohibited Catholic Social Services from placing any more children with families it has certified solely because of the agency's religious beliefs.
No, it had nothing to do with and the judge said this. Let me get down here. The judge, Thomas Ambro, said the city's non-discrimination policy is a neutral, generally applicable law, and the religious views of CSS do not entitle it to an exemption from that policy. CSS will only certify foster parents who are either married or single. It will not certify cohabitating unmarried couples, and it considers all same-sex couples to be unmarried. Now, it's true that they've never had any complaints by same-sex couples, for instance, but why would they? No one would go to a Catholic. If you're in a same-sex relationship, are you going to go to a Catholic agency to ask them to place a child
For adoption, yeah.
That doesn't matter. It's the fact that they, in principle, let alone in practice, will not allow it. And that's the problem. Ambro concluded that the city of Philadelphia stands on firm ground in requiring its contractors to abide by its non-discrimination policies when administering public services. And that the record demonstrates, in his view, the city's good faith in its effort to enforce its law against discrimination. And that's what was going on, rather than anti-religious bias. Why do they always have to play victim when they don't want to follow the law? Persecution complex, right? It's
we're supposed to get special stuff.
Yeah, it's the original victimhood cult. You know, it's like, we're so oppressed. Oh,
entitled assholes is.
Start that fire under that guy.
Tonight.
Yeah, that's okay.
So freaking entitled. They're brought up that way. You're better than everybody else, so you should be able to discriminate.
Yeah, which totally makes them wrong. Oh, this is okay. I think that was the end of Catholic Watch. I think. Oh, goody. Anyway, so
some good, some ridiculous. I'm glad the courts upheld that one.
So we're going to go to... There we go.
The Regressive Left Files.
Oh, we got a lot of stuff here. Let's start with the privilege scorecard stirs angst in Saratoga Springs story. This is the Daily Gazette from Saratoga Springs. Wow, so they had one of these... A teacher gave a high school class one of these, BuzzFeed-esque privilege calculators, and it's they're given an assignment, and I don't know exactly what the assignment was to do, other than either classify yourself as a victim or as an oppressor. That's all this thing is designed to do, right? The activity, copies of which were posted to social media last week, asked students to score how privileged they are. Add 25 points if you're white. Add 25 points if you're male. I'm screwed. Add 20 points if you are straight. Jesus Christ, come on. Subtract 100 points if you are black. No, sorry. Subtract 50 points if you're female. Subtract 150 points if you're gay. So apparently being gay is worse than being black. But at the end of the survey, students scoring negative 100 points or less were considered very disprivileged, while students who scored above 100 points were told to check it daily, as in check your privilege daily. Oh, God.
What does that mean?
I've never figured that out.
It's not very helpful then.
Yeah, I've never understood. It's the new astrology is what this is. And
if they aren't going to tell you...
Well, they're saying that you can distill your whole life down to a single number, and that tells you how privileged or unprivileged you are. That's balderdash.
Well, you can't count for every single variable in those kids' lives. Sure, they might be a white male, but maybe their father's an alcoholic that kicks their ass every day, or maybe they're bullied every day in school, or maybe because they're obviously leaving a lot of variables out. It's too general.
Your personal experiences is what determines this, not some calculator, some equation. It's just absurd. Somebody said, when we looked at that forum, we felt a lot of terms on there could really be offensive to a lot of kids. Yeah, that's the problem. I felt like this lesson being pushed in the classroom is being more divisive than bringing kids together. Well, yeah, that's exactly what this does. It creates an us versus them attitude. And that's not helpful. It's not bringing people together. It's stratifying people, and it's just not right. One other poster said on the Facebook page said it's emotional abuse. I agree totally. Students are either made to feel guilt for being white or made to feel like victims based on the negative score associated. That exactly is exactly right. And this is this cult of social justice that is just pernicious.
And it's oversimplifying everything.
Terribly. Yeah, absolutely. An unmodified version of the privilege reflection form was distributed to students without removal of the insensitive words, the district said in a statement. The district does not condone the use of the document with these insensitive words. Because that's the problem. Yeah. Oh, jeez. And one person on Facebook wrote, "It should make Saratoga school students uncomfortable. It is a wake-up call that not everyone has equal access." It's not about being comfortable or uncomfortable. This pissed off people, and rightly so. That's not being uncomfortable. That's being angry. It's a big difference. Stop it. God, it just makes my blood boil when I see something like that.
I think it gives ammo to the MAM people.
MAM?
Men. There's that men's rights. MRA? Men's rights?
Yeah, MRA.
Oh, sorry, I got it totally wrong. MRA guys. I would just give them fuel for their fire.
Yeah, but you know what? They'd be right on this.
Yeah, don't make them right, please.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
they don't need to be right on this.
This is the thing. The far left is very against free speech, and why is that? I mean, they say that the far right has hijacked free speech for their own purposes. Well, yeah, and what's wrong with your voice? And why aren't you?
Use it.
They're lauding free speech. The question is, why aren't they?
Yeah.
They're ceding the moral high ground. Congratulations. The left, the far left, is just a bunch of silly ninnies. There we go.
Oh, they're not helping.
So, Middlebury College, there was a group that had invited this guy named Legutko. He's a Polish, Ryszard Legutko. He's a politician, a Polish politician. And they were going to, there was going to be a big protest against him. I don't know what his views are. They're probably reprehensible, but you know what? He has a right to accept that invitation. But the university canceled the event, a few hours before he was to speak, and there was
probably just brought him more attention.
Because it's stupid. Yeah, the university cited a safety risk, which is the go-to now for universities. When they don't want to have a speaker show up. So what happened was that this one class, it was where is it? Yeah, it was headed by a political science professor, Keegan Callanan, and he asked the students if they would invite Legutko to the class, and they could engage him there. And he said, I asked the students as part of the classroom experience, do you want to invite him in here to critique his argument? And he said he wouldn't do it unless everybody was okay with it, and so they had a secret ballot, and everybody said yes. And so they invited him in without all the security and engaged him in discourse, civil discourse. It was it was heartwarming. There's still some people out in universities that will actually engage instead of pulling a David Suzuki thing that he did that once, where he debated this guy who was saying that there's a racial basis for differential IQs, and his methodology was terrible. It was, but no, did David Suzuki actually hone in on those kind of arguments? No, he just says, how can you say that? Emotional, an appeal to emotion. Just can't stand David Suzuki. Sorry, he's just an idiot.
I'd laugh about Jason Kenney picking on him, but I hate Jason Kenney even more for doing that.
Well, Jason Kenney's got he does have a point that David Suzuki is kind of.
David Suzuki's not standing between Alberta and pipelines.
No, he's not. That's
and that's Jason Kenney's whole argument.
Yeah. Well, he knows everybody hates David Suzuki out here. I actually have good reasons to.
David Suzuki's getting money to stand in the way of pipelines.
He's very against animal uses of animals in medical research, in brain, because we've got this cell line that is perpetual that you can just use, as if you can model the brain on a cell line. It's like, David, shut up.
I think he's gone bonkers in the last 20 years or so.
Yeah, I mean, he had a really good. Well, he still does it, I guess. The nature of things, but I just refuse to watch it now because I saw the episode he did on modeling the brain with just using a cell line.
Yeah,
it's absurd, absolutely absurd.
He forgot how to do science somewhere along the way.
It's not his area of expertise. It is mine. Yeah, so they actually engage this guy, and I wish I could find out what this guy was on about, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is that there's still some voices on campuses that are actually trying to engage and not doing, acting like those people in UC Berkeley was just reprehensible. The police should have gone in there and just arrested a lot of them and thrown the book at them. Whatever crime they did, they do the time. I got no patience for that kind of invalid protest. That's criminal activity as far as I'm concerned. There was this was in Amherst College. Unbeknownst to the president of the university, the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, which is starting to become a really dirty term in my book. They published this kind of a dictionary called Common Language Guide. It is anything but. Okay. So heterosexuality is defined here, for instance, a term developed as diagnosis of the hyper-infatuation with a different sex. A different sex? I think you mean opposite. Oh, right, that's right. You don't believe in this binary stuff. Yeah. Jesus Christ. First used by sexologist Carl Maria Kurt Benny in 1868. It is used to denote the normalized, as if it isn't the norm. But anyway, the normalized dominant sexual identity.
Hetero?
Yeah, heterosexuality, but it's not. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Femininity is a set of attributes, behaviors, and roles associated with girls and women, and further describes it as performing femininity in a culturally established way is expected of people assigned female at birth. Yeah,
he didn't see me as a kid when I was the biggest tomboy in the world. Nobody thought I was a girl.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like as if Oh wait, okay, push. Oh, let's flip that coin. Which one is it going to be? Oh yeah. Heads, you lose. Your girl. Sorry. Bad. But you know, they as if it's an arbitrary thing. You're assigned it. Oh, bullshit. They're basing it on your. This is the thing. When you conflate gender identity with sex, the two are not the same thing. Okay, they usually are, but they don't have to be. Mm-hmm. They're assigning you on the basis of your primary sexual characteristics. What sex you are. Your gender identity, knock yourself out. They don't care. But it matters for health care. It's this ideology that says no, men and women are no different, which is how do you arrive at such? It's not a conclusion. It's a premise. It's an assertion. I'm getting riled up. But the problem was that they didn't run it past the president. So soon after this whole thing appeared, President Carolyn Martin, she apparently was the author of this piece was saying that she recognized the potential for, bad PR, because that's finally starting to happen at universities. They took it down and hastily called a faculty meeting to express her displeasure at such a document having been made public without her approval. Yeah, and of course people, backed it up on from the net, so that you can actually go to this Commonweal. I don't know why it's called Commonweal. It's like they ran out of letters for Commonwealth. I don't know. Couldn't afford it. Maybe couldn't afford the last page. And so she kind of backpedaled from that, though. But we're seeing more and more of this kind of thing where faculty are afraid to speak up because the tail is wagging the dog. You get these people that they get ostracized by speaking out. They can't do it because the university won't back them up. So when you stand up and say, "Hey, I got a problem with this document," you get shouted down, silenced, and potentially fired. I mean, look what happened to Peter Boghossian. They tried to, get him on a trumped-up ethics violation. So in a statement disavowing the guide, President Martin commented that it runs counter to the core academic values of freedom of thought and expression. Yes. And cuts against our efforts to foster open exchange and independent thinking. Yes. That's the problem with these things. This is straight out of 1984. They're trying to control language. And we just have to stand up and say, no, more people that do that, the better off we're going to be in the end. It's going to hurt for a while. It's easy from the cheap seats, right? I don't have a faculty position. But, this is social justice. And then you get... I got to play this. I'm gonna play this. And... before we start, I'm gonna stop this because before we start, I gotta lay some groundwork.
Is this Sarsour?
No, this is not Sarsour. This is Sonali Rashatoir. She's a sex therapist,
okay.
Yeah, the sex therapist and social worker, and she made a bunch of. She's going on about fat phobia and how fat phobia, I kid you not, is about white supremacy. Because a few white supremacists have said this. Now, picture if you will, this woman. Actually, you can because it's on their screen. She's got to be 400 pounds. Got to be 400 pounds. And she has to give this talk sitting down.
she's a sex therapist trying to talk about...
She doesn't like the term overweight because she says, well, what weight am I over? Like, yeah, it don't matter. Just at your weight, it don't matter.
You're way over.
You're whatever it is, you're way over it. And that, we have to stop thinking about, a healthy body weight kind of thing. She even says that there's no such thing as bad food.
I'm sorry, the research shows otherwise.
Oh,
Where did she go to school?
Funny you should say that, because somebody asked the question. Somebody was suffering from extreme cognitive dissonance, and because it was such a long-winded question, I'm not going to play it. I'm just going to paraphrase it. That she was all... This questioner was all for what she's saying, but she's having a hard time reconciling that with the large body of research which shows that being overweight is heavily excuse the term, weighted. It's I'm using these terms, aren't I? It's high risk factor for things like stroke, high blood pressure, which leads to stroke.
Well, and then she
cancer.
even denies that. She says there is no connection between high blood pressure and obesity. Seriously? Again, where did she go to school?
Well, I'm just going to play this before we get to that, because I just want to play this because this is what her answer.
It would be difficult to think that an entire body of research could be oppressive in the same ways that entire bodies of research have been created to promote an idea that certain races deserve to be enslaved. Some things that I like to offer is that no disease exists solely within fat people. The same diseases that you're listing exist within thin people too. So even
but at a higher rate in fat people,
doesn't really mean that I deserve inadequate medical care when I go to the doctor. Even if it were true that being fat meant I might experience different diseases or a higher rate, that still doesn't mean that I would deserve inadequate treatment at a doctor's office. Yeah, mostly what I want us to do is challenge authority. And so if we're learning that, like, hey, maybe some of the science might be propaganda or like promoting an oppressive ideology, that maybe we're allowed to challenge authority, and maybe we don't have to assume it as gospel. Yeah, and I also want us to think, like, is it my fatness that causes my high blood pressure, or is it my experience of weight stigma? Because when I move through the sidewalk and someone's like staring at me or laughing at me or taking a photo of me or taking a video of me or like ridiculing me, is that what is increasing my anxiety and my blood pressure, or is it just the fatness on my body? And that's a similar conversation around folks who experience anti-blackness. Are they just experiencing higher blood pressure because the skin is black? No, it might be actually this structural experience of anti-blackness.
What a load of
She's claiming black people have more high blood pressure than white?
The one questioner was saying that we learn things that are wrong, like that somebody misheard something, that yes, certain genetic pools have dispositions for high blood pressure. That doesn't, it's not the color of your skin that has anything to do with it. Anyway, and that's true, because there are a number of diseases that are say sickle cell anemia. That doesn't happen in too many white people. There are some drug reactions which happen to certain genetic pools, Lebanese in that region. There was a whole map.
But only high blood pressure is because of how black people are looked at, not sickle cell anemia, of course.
Yeah. But she's...
I'm sorry, there's an easy experiment here. Bring a bunch of really obese people up around no looks and no anxiety-inducing situations and tell me how many no longer have blood pressure just because of that.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Yeah, I hate to tell you, lady, it is because you are vastly overweight.
Where did she go to school? Does she know nothing about the human body and what causes high blood pressure? I mean, I think my blood pressure is rising right now, but...
It's transient.
It'll go down when I'm done reading this horrid, disgusting anti-science rant of hers. Like, she's not going against anything except research and evidence. I mean, come on, where's your research?
Exactly.
Where is it? Give me your damn study.
That's how you challenge the accepted doctrine of the day, is you bring up your science. If you haven't got science, you've got no game. You go home.
And you can't erase science by saying, "Oh no, this is how it is." Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's all been done to oppress her specifically. Everybody else is wrong but her. I mean, she's just
got some delusion of grandeur here.
Yeah, well, I actually went through. This is a 2-hour talk. I sat here, listening to this drivel, and that's just a part of it.
And I'm just reading it and I can't stand it. How did you do that?
I was yelling at the computer, so I was. It was just something else. It was just, this woman is deluded and total ideologue. She's a Marxist, obviously. She's pro-Palestinian. She's as if Palestinians don't want to commit a genocide in Israel or something, anything like that.
Does she have oppositional defiance order? Because she's going against every bit of evidence out there. I didn't want to play this, but and that's why I didn't record it. But there's this video. It must exist somewhere on the net. Called Poodle Science, and so poodles are studying, what the right weight for dogs are, but they only consider poodles, and every dog, no matter what their size, they should have the same weight as poodles. And my God! I'm just like, wow. Have you ever? Do you understand the BMI, the body mass index, and how it works? Nope, they don't. They don't seem to understand. They take height into consideration.
Yeah, it takes
all the variables.
It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it is a pretty good, quick and dirty. It does control for those kinds of things, and
some of those tests even include how much exercise you're getting and how much weight lifting you do and stuff. Like the better ones even include that now, because
so this
some weight could be muscle.
Oh yeah, we never thought of that there might be different body types. Oh, fuck off. Of course they know. It's just
Can you imagine like those humongous Labrador and Labradoodles and all these other types being the weight of a poodle? How scrawny they would be.
That's one of the things that they argue for, is that well, you can't just do poodle science. We have to take into account body type, and they already do. So she's railing against diet culture. It's a form of assault because it impacts the way I experience my body.
So basically this is a 2-hour rant about I can do what I want and you can't call me unhealthy.
Yeah, essentially it, yes. And it's white supremacy.
No. What?
Because white supremacists... okay, here.
Well,
she says...
And this one...
What's that? Go ahead.
I truly believe a child cannot consent to being on a diet the same way a child can consent to having sex. That's pretty demented.
Yeah, children can't consent to being sent to bed either. What's your point?
So now you're going to say children can have cake all fucking day?
Why not? She obviously does. I don't like being mean, but like that. I don't do that.
This is insane.
She is ugly inside and out. Like, she is not a good person. She is just... okay. So here's where we get to the white supremacy thing. So she's talking about the Christchurch massacre in New Zealand. She says this. This is just priceless. I got to do this in a voice.
I do not think it's surprising that the man who shot up Christchurch, New Zealand, was also a fitness instructor.
What? Oh my God!
Okay, so?
Wow! Holy shit!
And that
Oh my
wasn't the
God.
only reference to fat phobia, as if there is such a thing, is white supremacy. That she was listing, talking about white supremacists who say that we shouldn't tolerate obesity, and I'm like, okay, so the guy's a jerk, but you're still overweight. You're still obese, so morbidly so, lady. You're not going to live past 45. It's just unbelievable. Like, and some.
I still
So go ahead.
ask people, do you see a lot of obese 90-year-olds?
Yeah, you don't.
And then I got called I got all kinds of names for that. Just pointing it out, like, find me an obese 90-year-old.
Yep. Yeah. So somebody was in the audience at this, and he actually lost over 100 pounds himself, and he said the entire speech was very troubling to me. I know from personal experience that health is absolutely connected to weight. Of course it is. And it's also connected to your mental health too, as is exercise. This is why a doctor will tell you not just to lose weight if you're overweight, you're beyond the target weight for your age, but get some exercise. That's the one thing that two things that you can control that will affect your mental health too.
Well, this lady does sound mentally ill, I must say.
That's what people who are ideologues sound like. They sound like
crazy.
Yeah. I know from personal experience that health is absolutely connected to weight. When you decide to give up and claim that doctors are lying to you and you're perfect the way you are, all you truly end up with is repressed emotions and an early funeral. Yeah, that's just what I said. I can guarantee that maintaining healthy eating habits will help me live a much longer and healthier life than I was originally on track to have. Your life can only improve if you take responsibility for yourself. And that's the problem. She's not taking responsibility for her habits, her living habits, eating habits, exercise habits, and or lack thereof. She doesn't want to take responsibility. What kind of a social worker is she anyway?
Sex
therapist. Can you imagine?
therapist. I mean, she doesn't go by evidence-based anything, so maybe that's why she has to give speeches now to make money. I mean,
yeah.
What kind of sex therapy she gives, and what it's based on. Like I said, where did she go to school?
I don't know. I really don't care. It's just
scary.
Get rid of some of these. Yeah. Oh, I got to figure out where we got into. Saratoga Springs, Lagutko.
I had a lot about Sarsour here.
Yeah, we got Sarsour. That's one of those ones where I'm not sure where I want to put it. If we could do it right now, because yeah, here we go. This is the woman I love to hate. Yeah, okay. Where is the original? Okay, so Linda Sarsour, Cockroach Sarsour. She was invited by a Winnipeg group. I got to find the right. This might have been
it.
Yeah, so
it was scheduled for April 26th at Seven Oaks, but I'm not seeing by who. Social planning.
Yeah, that was the title of the event. It was.
Oh, it was the Canadian Muslim Women's Institute. They booked her.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Well, this will say in the Muslim Watch or whatever it is.
Yeah, it does. But anyway, she was invited up to Winnipeg, and along with, get this, along with her on the panel, there was Nora Loreto, and some people may know about her after she tweeted this about, you remember the Humboldt Broncos hockey team bus, and 13 people died. I think it was 13.
Yeah.
And
a lot.
a number of other ones are permanently disabled and etc. because of an inattentive truck driver who
A very new,
stop sign.
inattentive truck driver.
Yeah,
They're changing laws for drivers in Alberta now because of this.
Yeah, Alberta. Yeah, that's Saskatchewan, but
But he was an Alberta driver from a Calgary
it?
company.
Okay. Yeah. And to be to this man's credit, he pled guilty. Like, he said, "I did this."
He didn't drag it on.
Yeah, I've got a huge amount of respect. He's still going to be serving a lot of time in prison for it, but it was a tragic
Not over
accident.
10 years.
But anyway, she tweeted this. I'm trying to not get cynical about what is a totally devastating tragedy, but the maleness, the youthfulness, and the whiteness of the victims are, of course, playing a significant role.
Bullshit.
Fuck you.
It was a number. It was a young group of kids. There was a girl killed too.
Oh, but they were male for the most part.
And it's just
white. She's a
this is a
loathsome
sports team. Have you
piece of
been to these areas like the Humboldt team? That's a Saskatchewan team, was it?
Yeah.
Have you been to Saskatchewan? I'm sorry, but there's mostly white people there, and that has nothing to do with it. It's just that those football players are going to be more likely be white. I mean,
Hockey
just
players.
because of where they live. That's just the demographic right now. So shut the hell up.
Yeah, that's just a despicable thing to say about a
These were
tragedy.
kids. They were fucking kids.
So screw her. Yeah, it was some. Darn it! But you know what? A bunch of people writing in. One was Toronto Sun and what's his name here? Anthony Fury. Let Linda Sarsour speak in Winnipeg, however awful she may be, and I agree. She should be allowed to speak if she's going to, give herself some more rope to hang herself with. So be it. We shouldn't be like the mayor of Winnipeg was calling for her to be disinvited, but that's not the right thing to do.
It just gives her more attention too. So thanks.
Yeah, no, I can't. If I get on the Linda Sarsour, I'm gonna. I mean, one was asking the question: is Linda Sarsour an anti-Semite? Oh yeah, yeah, darn right she is. It's not just that she hates Israel; she's very anti-Israel. She's a fake Palestinian. Call her Palestinian American. She's a fake Palestinian. Come on. And she's buddy with Louis Farrakhan, who is really an anti-Semite. I mean, the guy wrote a book on his conspiracy theories about the Jewish cabals trying to give drugs to black Americans so they don't. I don't know what it was. It was just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And she reveres Louis Farrakhan. She did finally, after a lot of pressure from within the Women's March movement, actually denounce Farrakhan's views. But do I believe she really does? No, I don't believe that for a second. She's only for Jews who are anti-Israeli. Pretty clear. I mean, and the things that she has tweeted are really interesting. Like this one, Bridget Gabriel, who is a very hard conservative in the U.S., is equal to Ayaan Hirsi Ali, and I'm like, no, that's not Ayaan Hirsi Ali. She's asking for an ass whipping. I wish I could take their vaginas away. They don't deserve to be women. I mean, Iron Ali suffered female genital mutilation. Like, that's a really nice thing to say. I love this tweet. I don't know if it's actually real or not, but it's hilarious. Linda Sarsour tweeted, "I just lost all my text threads. I have an iPhone. Any idea why?" And the Mossad replied, "Yes." That's funny. The Mossad has a sense of humor. Here, 10 weeks of paid maternity leave in Saudi Arabia. Yes, paid. And you're worrying about women driving. Puts us to shame. I'm worried about women who can't go outside without being covered up, except for an eye slit, and not without a male escort. Jesus Christ, this woman is... Paid maternity leave. Big, hairy deal. What else? There's a bunch of... The internet is not forgetting and forgiving Linda Sarsour, and rightfully so. She's a vile, anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas, as if Hamas doesn't want to commit genocide.
Wipe Israel off, yeah.
You know,
they're continually attempting to wipe Israel off the map, Hamas.
Yeah, and you wonder
that's their sole reason for existing.
You wonder why these and the Israeli Defense Force, you know, they announced to Palestine where they're going to hit a certain spot, so get people out of there. What does Hamas do? Sends people in because they know a body count is going to matter. That's what's going to play. It's not the thing that you don't hear is that they told these people to go into a building that was blown up. Yeah, really nice. So I'm not a big fan of Palestinian movement. What's this one? Oh yeah, okay. This might have been the Winnipeg event. Yeah, it is. And it's deciding it's not going to reload. Oh, that's a different one. This thing's taking forever. And anyway, yeah. Benai Barith wasn't very happy about her speaking there. I don't blame them, but I also don't think you should say, no, don't let her speak. Yeah, I think I don't want to talk about Linda Sarsour anymore. She's just a vile human being.
Yeah, I'm reading through this article, and she's defending a murderer and everything else, so...
Yeah, she's just bad news. The kind of social activist that sets back social movements. But she gets lauded. I mean, she received an award from Barack Obama. I don't know what for, but I don't think it was anything good. This pissed me off a bit. The FA in England, the football league there, they're no longer going to give champagne or have champagne available for the winners of the FA Cup because there might be Muslims.
So they can't just not drink it. Like, again, this is as bad as Christians. So
yeah, it's so what you're going to do is force everyone to abide by religious tenets that you don't adhere to. Stop it. I don't. If somebody's going to ask me not to eat around them when it's Ramadan, I'm going to order an extra burger because I should never, ever be told I have to abide by somebody else's beliefs. That's crazy. That's nuts. I make no apologies for it because if I'm hungry, I'm going to eat.
Yeah, I'm not going to torture
don't
myself.
have a thing, Ramadan's not a thing for me. It's for you. Great. Knock yourself out. Don't
Maybe
ask
I'm
me to come
offended
home.
that they're not eating.
No. And Linda
You better
Sarsour
eat or I'll be offended.
actually made a video about that, right? People were eating around her, and I'm like, yeah, what's your problem? You got a problem? It's too bad.
Go home.
That's not reasonable accommodation. And, reasonable accommodation is providing somebody a place. Could you imagine this? What would happen in a company lunchroom? Oh, we just hired somebody who's Muslim now. You guys can't eat that month. Forget lunchroom's closed. Can't offend him or her or whatever. No, I think you'd have a riot on your hands. That would be ridiculous. That's not accommodation.
And you'd have a horrible afternoon every day with hungry people around you.
Yeah, no kidding. Run for your life. When I get hungry, I'm going to go through you to get food.
Yeah, I get hangry, so.
Yeah. Anyway, what else we got? You done the St. Olaf's?
Well, this Owen, where'd it go now?
Oh, yeah. You want to do that one now?
That guy, oh my god. Talk about clueless.
Oh, where is it? Yeah, I gotta. Oh, where is it on here? Yeah, here it is. Muslims and LGBTQ people should stand together, not fight each other. This guy really doesn't have a clue, does he? Despite the whole don't teach, there were people, Muslims that were protesting a school in Birmingham, that how dare they teach children about the existence of gays and lesbians, because
And
they can't
who is this
exist.
Owen?
I don't know. Oh,
Who is
an idiot,
Owen Jones
obviously.
anyways? Why does he even have a voice here?
I don't know, but the Guardian is one of those newspapers that's gone downhill. They've got some pretty nasty uber feminists that hate men, literally hate men, as well. But I mean, does he not get here? Okay, he was talking about.
Here's the background of it.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
In 2019, picketers, mostly but not exclusively from a Muslim background, are demanding that schools cease their LGBTQ inclusive education.
Yeah.
So that should give him an indication of how they're not going to work together with anyone.
No kidding.
This.
You might have a common enemy, but they hate your guts. Okay, we're not talking about people who dream of having a gay or lesbian child. I mean, they're more likely to
In
kill
fact,
them.
they want they want their children not even to hear about them. They don't exist.
Yeah. And okay, so what he says is the dangerous conclusion, I love that, dangerous, it's the obvious conclusion to draw from this saga is that Muslims and LGBTQ people are on a collision course.
Considering they're the ones picketing, maybe the Muslims are out there picketing.
They collided, and they're we're going to get to this again when we talk about Brunei. Maybe this guy should listen to what's going on in the world. This is not the norm. Liking gays and lesbians in the Muslim world isn't the norm. Okay, they want to kill them.
So Owen Jones is the columnist, and he concludes by saying it would be tragic that if we learned to stand up. It would be tragic if we learned that to stand apart is to fall together. Huh?
Oh, well, they because they're fighting amongst themselves that they would fall. And I'm just like, you're just clueless, dude.
They are standing apart. That's the whole point. So, you can tell them that they should work.
It's just,
you might as well go tell them not to be religious, then they'll probably stone you for that. In this case, those particular ones. You know, it's not just Muslims in the group. There's probably some Christians too, so... why don't you go tell the whole bunch not to be religious anymore and see how well that goes over.
Try reading the Quran. See how that... Oh, yeah, it's really nice to gays and lesbians.
Okay, Owen, you're an ideologue. Clueless one at that.
Yeah, he's clueless about... He doesn't get it. He's one of these people that says, well, Muslims are awesome. And some are. Many are. Especially the ones that come to Canada. But in Britain, there's a lot of nasty ones. And you know, not this demonstration at the Birmingham School, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's worse than that. So, I tell you. Sri Lanka. I may as well talk about Sri Lanka. As we know, let's talk about Brunei first, because Brunei kind of goes to the point about why the LGBTQ community and the Muslim community are never going to be singing Kumbaya in the same room. Brunei defends death by stoning for gay sex in a letter to the European Union. Ugh, I hate that. EU. That's better. He says in the letter that the kingdom claimed, it's a sultanate, but anyway, the kingdom claimed that the outcry is due to a misconception that it wanted to clarify. Now here's the misconception. The criminalization of adultery and sodomy is to safeguard the sanctity of family lineage and marriage to individual Muslims, particularly women. The penal sentences of had, stoning to death and amputation, imposed for offenses of theft, robbery, adultery, and sodomy have extremely high evidentiary threshold, requiring no less than 2 or 4 men of high moral standing, good luck, and piety as witnesses to the exclusion of every form of circumstantial evidence. Yeah, that's what's wrong with this. We don't understand that you have to have massive amounts of evidence. No, that's not the problem. That's not at all the problem. It just doesn't get it. Some of these should not be a crime. And the amputation thing for theft, that might be a little overboard, right? Just saying.
They might have to steal more if they don't have any more hands, like, to work.
I'm going to say something totally controversial here. And it could get me in hot water, and I hope it does. Brunei was a British colony up until 1984. Brunei could do with a little colonialism. I said it. Colonialism isn't all bad.
Well, not in these times so much, because exploiting countries is
exactly, but people
a little bit frowned on by now.
People say it's still going on. Like, give me a break.
Thing is, they're regressing since 1984, so...
Yeah, and you know, like places like Iran. Well, the Shah of Iran he had a secret police and he tortured a lot of people. The general, but you know who he was torturing were the people who were the same people that came into power later on and turned Iran into what it is today. You cannot lay that at the feet of the Americans. Forget that. That was the only thing that was keeping them at bay. And now look at it. Great.
Well, there's a call to action. The Parliament also called on the EU to consider asset freezes, visa bans, and blacklisting of 9 hotels owned by Brunei Investment Agency, including Dorchester in London, Beverly Hills Hotel and the Hotel Bel Air in Los Angeles. Celebrities including Elton John and George Clooney have called for the hotels to be boycotted. So
yeah, because everybody's making their vacation plans to Brunei.
Well, these hotels are actually in Los Angeles,
sorry, in Los Angeles. Well, I'm still not going there.
and London. So, there's a backlash against this. So, but I don't know if
it's
it'll
probably
do
not going to amount to anything. Saudi Arabia just recently executed a whole whack of people, 26 or something like that, beheading by sword. There's another, but where's the outcry
there's still
for that?
Trump's blood. Oh, this Trump. That's okay.
Yeah,
We're not going to interfere. Come on, you don't interfere. They're still the buddies.
Well, there's a lot of cultural relativists out there that say, "Oh, it's okay in their culture." That's a shitty opinion.
What if you were born to that culture? What would you say?
Yeah, just go there, live there for a while.
Yeah, be gay there.
Yeah.
See how you feel when you get beheaded. I'm sure it's lovely.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah, it's wonderful at this time of year. Yeah, it's the execution season. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and getting executed is a wonderful experience.
Yeah, all red, everything.
You'll love it. Go live the execution.
And then there was the whole, of course, the terrible events that happened in Sri Lanka. 290 people killed, over 500 injured, and but it the religion of peace in action. So they've arrested 24 people and various stop that. 24 people. Their leader,
Zahran Hashim.
Zahran Hashim, yeah, he's a radical Muslim preacher accused of masterminding. He died. He was one of the suicide bombers. And there's lots of red flags, and the security services did know about him, but
because he didn't. It says here he didn't hide his hate.
He didn't, and he was talking about idolaters. He said that need to be slaughtered wherever you see them. He was influential, very attractive, very smart in his species. I don't know if he was that attractive. That's not my type. Even though what he was saying about jihad was crazy. We all underestimated him. We never thought he would do what he said. I mean, if somebody's saying something like this, maybe it's more commonplace in Sri Lanka, but if somebody around here is saying this, I'm going to be calling CSIS. After getting ejected from serving as imam for one mosque for his extremist views, Mr. Zahran started a group in 2014 called the National Tawhid Jamaat, which drew from the austere Wahhabi, surprise, surprise, Wahhabi tradition that claims to follow the faith as practiced in the age of its founder, the Prophet Muhammad, as if anybody knows how that was done. By 2017, Mr. Zahran and his followers were targeting a Sufi sect in Kentucky, accusing its members of being infidels, even though Sufis. Yeah, this is interesting. This is something that people don't understand, and this author doesn't understand. We're targeting a Sufi sect in Kentucky, accusing its members of being infidels, even though Sufis are fellow Muslims who practice a mystical form of the faith. Wahhabis don't consider Sufis to be Muslim. From our perspective, Muslims, but Sufis are, Sunnis and Shia don't think the either is Muslim. Wahhabis don't think Sunnis and Shia are Muslim, and Sufis nobody thinks are Muslim. So all of them don't, have a thing against Sufism. So this is this misconception that terrorism is against fellow Muslims. They're not fellow Muslims. They
They don't
consider
view
them
themselves as
they don't view themselves
Yeah.
or they don't view their targets as being Muslim because there's heretics, right?
they're not Musliming, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, his memory stokes fear. Yeah, this is another one. This is a picture of Zaran's what's his last name again? I'm not gonna name him. Here's a picture of the suicide bombers, and he's the only one with who isn't wearing a, I don't know what that's called, that the men are wearing.
Kind of like a dress or
No, the headscarf. I don't know what that's called. Zaran's name appears on a memo dated April 11th and signed by Sri Lanka's Deputy Inspector General of Police, which was circulated among a range of security agencies, so they were aware of him. And it references the red flags raised about Zaran and specifically warns of attacks on churches, but despite the unusually specific intelligence, Zaran was not picked up. So that's dropping the ball.
Well, and this is weird too. Mr. Zaran founded his own mosque with funding from India, according to members of the Kankudi Mosque Association, even though Mr. Zaran's mosque never received official religious certification, so he wasn't really Musliming right either. Still, as an Islamic school dropout with unlicensed mosque, he was gaining followers in Sri Lanka and beyond, and last year Indian security officials investigated what they said was an Islamic State cell in southern India. Reported that one of the suspects they had arrested said he was inspired to join the group after watching Mr. Zaran's videos. So what video platform is he using too?
Yeah. Social media has been a double-edged sword. I mean, it's used to recruit and spread hate, especially if it's in a language that Facebook, Twitter don't monitor that much. They certainly don't seem to monitor it. They ban people for far tamer stuff than some of these hashtags that are, horrible. Which involve killing non-Muslims, etc. It's pretty hypocritical of some of these social media providers. Well, I got one more story here from this is from the Star in Vancouver. Unbearable and excruciating. Women podcasters face discrimination for their opinions and their voices. So basically this was one whole thing blaming the patriarchy for there being very few women podcasters. All right. Often people complain about what's called upspeak, and I'm doing it right now. I'm inflecting my voice at the end of every sentence. And it is freaking annoying.
Oh, really?
And if okay, this is what she says. Voices that deviate from the white male norm, whatever that is, are often policed as not being authoritative, not comforting, as being annoying, irritating, hard to listen to. If you're doing upspeak, you're damn right it's annoying.
And it doesn't matter if you're male or female.
It doesn't. And that's what I said. I said it doesn't matter. If I'm doing it, it's just as annoying as if a woman does it. Generally what they actually mean is, this is a voice I don't want to listen to because I'm not hearing it as a neutral voice. Yeah, it's a very unconfident thing to do. If you do that, make everything a question. You don't sound confident in what you do. How about this? Instead of being a blushing violet about criticism, change your speech patterns. I've been working for years on my speech patterns because I tend to stutter. I tend to and search for the correct word, the most accurate word. I just did it right there.
That's what I do.
And I stop or I stutter, and it's probably very annoying. But I've been working on it. I'm far better now than I was 5 years ago. I was terrible 5 years ago. Part of it is because I'm less anxious. I don't feel self-conscious when I'm doing this anymore. I just do it. I've done it so often that it's it's water off a duck's back.
Yeah. It's easier if there's some notes written beforehand too. Just look at your notes for that word you wrote down previously.
Well, the newest thing that I've got is this what's called is it highlighter. Anyway, I can highlight the web pages for the key text, and I can find it really quickly. And that way I'm not chasing down, specific quotes. As one woman says, she doesn't love listening to the sound of her own voice. Who does? And attributes it to a socially constructed and internalized hatred toward women. Jesus Christ.
I don't think Chris or I have ever received complaints. I'm speaking from personal experience, though, but what are they basing this on specifically?
Well, it's obviously ideologically driven bullshit.
Because she's saying that Jansen doesn't think that audiences disliking the sound of women's voices is the reason there aren't more women in hosting roles. Instead, she thinks it's related to institutions not encouraging or supporting women to take on technical roles. How is podcasting
I don't buy that for 1 second. You know why? You can do is if somebody is not supporting you, make your own damn podcast. Show them what you can do.
Some of the funniest podcasters are women, actually. Garfunkel and what's the other one?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Terrible with names, I'm sorry, but they're so awesome.
Yeah, yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, Garfunkel and it's going to drive me nuts now. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
They did a really funny song about anal sex.
Well, they do a lot of those, actually.
That's
and
really
then
funny.
Skeptic Zone podcast, they had women. I always loved.
You had Rebecca Watson before she went crazy.
Yeah, I hope she's changed her views on GMOs by now.
Yeah, I don't care.
Try to point people towards science.
Yeah.
Even Bill Nye changed his mind, so take a hint.
Yeah, this woman is saying about her own listening to her own voice. I have to get over it every time I hear myself on radio or TV or even these podcasts. There's a little bit of that. It's internalized misogyny. My voice is fine. Right, it's internalized misogyny. My God.
Find a guy who likes listening to his own voice. Please, tell me.
Woke is a 4-letter word. Okay, she's talking about another reason why women don't podcast. And another bullshit reason, by the way. We got a lot of messaging early on that we're not good with tools, that we're not good with technology, and so we're less likely to think of ourselves as people who can just pick up a voice recorder and give it a try.
We have our own technical issues. It's not.
Oh God.
Of course you're going to get complaints if it's not technically good either. I mean, take it as constructive criticism. Make it better. I mean,
it's this soft bigotry of lowered expectations. This is what this is. Since men are this is great. Since men are typically paid higher salaries than women, she added, they are also more likely to have the resources to fund their own podcasts. Oh my God, how much money does it cost
does it take
to record a goddamn podcast?
I got a
Seriously.
microphone, like them.
That was the most expensive part of your gear. I mean, you already had a computer for other reasons. And maybe, I don't know. It's just, seriously, you're really rich. It's entirely possible women don't like doing it. And then she talks about this. Okay, the number of podcasts out that are a couple of dudes in their basement. At least she didn't say their mom's basement. Recording 5-hour episodes about Star Trek.
Really? I've never seen one. I want to see this.
They have that spirit of like, I'm probably interesting and great people probably want to hear what I have to say. Okay. Why don't you?
Yeah. You can tell yourself
Why do you
the
listen
same
to
thing.
these other voices? People that blame their decisions on, oh, it's because I heard it so often. So what? Do you listen to everything that people tell you to? Do you allow people to make your decisions for you? Oh man. Seriously. Like
The Secret Feminist Agenda podcast. Hannah McGregor is the host of the Secret Feminist. That sounds kind of scary.
well, she's definitely, we've already established she's an ideologue that buys into this whole patriarchy thing.
And she's a professor in the publishing department at Simon Fraser.
Yeah, she's got no career, obviously. Couldn't make it on her own, really.
Publishing department. What's a publishing department?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
I'm trying to picture this. Is it
As a professorship? I mean, there's a publishing department that puts out, copies of lab books and stuff. But as a professor, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I gave an example of a woman who, I don't know if you can consider it a podcast. Anna Marie Tremonti.
Oh, I like her.
She hosts The Current on CBC Radio, which is also produced as a podcast.
Yeah.
And she is fantastic.
Her questions are amazing. She's always
she
spot
didn't let
on.
anybody off the hook. Yeah, and she's her questions go right to the core of what we need to hear in terms of answers. And she doesn't.
She's amazing.
Anybody that tries to avoid, she doesn't let it go.
She keeps at it.
Yeah, she's really good, and it's fun listening to her. She's been a correspondent overseas. She was a correspondent in Saudi Arabia for a while too, in the Middle East anyway.
Brave.
She's done a lot of journalism work, and she's fantastic at it. So she's a joy to listen to.
Yeah,
so
I don't find her annoying at all. In fact,
No.
I've hardly ever found a
And she
woman's
doesn't
voice
upspeak.
annoying. I can't say I've ever found a woman's voice annoying just because it's a woman's voice. I can't think of one example.
No,
well,
of course
now I'm really uncomfortable listening to some women, but it's not because their voice. It's Trump's little liars.
Yeah.
He's got two of them, the blonde one and the brunette.
Token women.
Yeah, his little token liars. I find they're Conway and
They're pretty important positions.
Huckasans. Conway and Huckasans. As
That
yeah.
was Huckabee.
It is, but we call her Huckasan.
Oh, okay.
Hucka.
Okay.
It's Stephen Colbert.
Oh, okay. I haven't watched him in ages. I should get back.
He's awesome.
Yeah, I like him.
I don't find his voice annoying at all either, but I do find Huckasans annoying. But I think it's mostly because of what she's saying than what her voice sounds like. For some weird reason.
Well, I got one last story. It's this minor thing. Not minor. But I'll just do this.
It's time for... Quack tracks.
All right, yeah, it's quack tracks and U.S. measles. We talked about New York and its response to the measles outbreak there, where they banned
Quarantine.
quarantine. Yeah, keep telling people to keep their children, unvaccinated children, away from public spaces. And U.S. measles
For their own safety.
hit a 25-year high, and for everybody else's safety. 25-year high as misinformation on vaccine spreads. And this is why children aren't getting vaccinated, because of this misinformation that's going around that vaccines cause autism, which is a flat-out lie. Misinformation is probably it's too conservative a word. I would say that these people are just downright liars.
Yeah, and half of them are selling something.
Well, they believe it. So
the ones buying their stuff believe it.
But they are spreading falsehoods. And, I don't know if... I can't say anything. I can't read minds, so I don't know if they're intentionally lying. But, it's...
Well, some of them selling that stuff, some of them selling the alternatives vaccines, I'm sure are lying. The ones buying the alternatives, of course, believe the lies. Yeah. Wakefield failed to disclose conflicts of interest, and which was downright unethical, and he knew exactly what he was doing. And his control group was like 11 kids.
Yeah, and his sampling was unethical as well.
How he went to a birthday party.
Yeah, great sampling.
I'm sorry, that's not how you science. He didn't science.
Yeah. So they've had... So this is the worst in 25 years. And we saw with that flight attendant who... She wasn't unvaccinated, but she had... It was an Israeli flight attendant. She came down with measles, ended up in a coma. I don't know if she's out of it. But as an adult, measles is really, really serious. And she only had one hit of the vaccine, and you really need two. You're protected to a certain extent, but you're not fully protected unless you've had two hits of vaccine separated by what? So she
might not die, but she might be injured.
Well, she's in a coma. She's not going to be. I assume that's probably from encephalitis or something.
Brain damage.
So probably quite possibly, I don't know, but so all of this is happening because of the misinformation that is being put out there, and parents are looking for information. I just don't understand why parents don't trust doctors. I mean, there's this
big pharma
intellectual says, and to be fair, there have been some incidents where big pharma has been a problem. Vioxx, I mean, that whole fiasco,
but they're far more trustworthy than the shithead selling you MLM crap over the internet, telling you vaccines are bad.
Absolutely.
But people want to believe these marketers instead. I mean,
they're telling you something. I mean, big pharma, they're making money off of a drug that they've developed and researched, but you have to understand,
make a lot less money off vaccines. They
get no money from vaccines. Vaccines are a losing proposition, and if they could, the companies making vaccines would not make them.
Yeah, because you know what? You get more money out of treating someone for measles than by vaccinating them. Like, honestly, if they weren't calling for people to be vaccinated, it'd be extremely unethical, because they're going to make a lot more money getting people into the hospital. Mind you, the hospitals would then be quite overwhelmed. Maybe you'd have more hospitals. I don't know.
It takes it from concept to pharmacy. It takes about $1 billion, probably more than $1 billion now,
in research
to get a drug to market.
Whereas those stinky oils you're buying, you know what? They don't have to be tested.
Yeah.
There's no research at all. I mean, you can say vaccines are not research, but that's bullshit. What is true is these stinky oils that actually make me extremely sick, they're not researched. There's no evidence for them, but you're believing someone who said, it worked for me.
Yeah. So we need to counter this with not it can't be just information, because there needs to be something more.
Apparently it's dead kids. Dead kids.
Yeah.
Your child dies. I mean, like the Stefan still try to blame everybody but themselves, but there is the odd parent that gets a clue. One lady, her children all got very sick, and she got them vaccinated after. Mm-hmm. So sometimes having your child deathly ill clues you in. Yeah, it's too bad that's what it takes.
They have these ridiculous measles parties to intentionally get your child sick. Yeah. I mean, you can get a vaccine and they don't have to get sick, and they're just as protected.
And they won't get SSPE. Look it up. SSPE.
Yeah, or any of the other complications that
encephalitis. You know, things that actually hurt kids. SSPE will murder your child in a slow, horrible death.
Yeah, and there's no treatment for it. So all you can do.
So good job infecting your kids with something that will kill them slowly if they're the lucky one that gets it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got for tonight. Nobody's calling in, so I have no idea if we have anybody who's. Oh, I gotta sit up because I'm sliding a bit. There we go.
Uh-oh. You didn't say anything controversial enough? We're not getting phone calls?
Apparently not. Apparently not.
It's not like we weren't trying.
Hey, come on. I said colonialism can be good. Or at least better than what's there now. Brunei.
Killing people for being gay.
Jeez.
Having gay sex. You can be gay apparently, but having gay sex will get you killed.
Yeah. Lovely place to visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we'll close it down and go to bed.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So this is me signing off from hell. This is the ninth circle of hell.
It's nice there.
Yeah,
it's got lots of cats.
Yeah. All the cats have disappeared, actually. All right.
Uh-oh, what'd you do?
I'm going to close her up. They just come and go as they please. Of course, there's cats in hell. It's because they're interesting. All right. So say goodnight.
And they like it a lot. Good night. No.